All right, let's get your reaction to Joe Rogan on his podcast, The Joe Rogan Experience, highlighting the controversial Illinois Safety Act. You can always call in live and local at 217-629-7970. That's the phone number again, 217-629-7970. And we, of course, have been talking about the Safety Act since way back in January of 2021 when it passed. In January of 2021. It doesn't take effect until January 1st, 2023, but it's got all kinds of different elements in it, including requiring police have body cameras. I don't think many people are going to argue with that. It also allows for a whole host of other things, more training and a variety of regulations on police. But on the criminal justice side, one thing that it does that a lot of people have raised the alarm on since January of 2021 is the issue of no cash bail for a host of different crimes that can be alleged against somebody being arrested. Now, if you get arrested for a crime, you go to jail. Typically, you get processed, fingerprinted, your photos taken, and then you wait for a judge to have you come into the courtroom to face those charges. And then you are provided the ability to get out with bail, and you can bond out. Well, apparently there were conversations leading up to January of 2021 on the unfairness that the bail system has towards certain lower income individuals. So they put together the Safety Act, and what the Safety Act stands for, I believe it's safety, accountability, transparency, and equity today. So safety. I believe that's what safety stands for. But a podcast with a listenership nearly the size of Illinois called the Safety Act crazy and that everyone's freaking out. Now, for weeks, people who play by the rules pack, they've been releasing ads against Governor J.B. Pritzker and Democrats about the Safety Act, very critical of the Safety Act. One recent ad actually shows that surveillance video of a woman being mugged in broad daylight in Chicago. Now, Friday, Governor J.B. Pritzker was asked about the ad, and he condemned that ad. The ad's actually been pulled off of some TV stations in the Chicago area. Here's Governor J.B. Pritzker reacting.
I think it's terrible to run a commercial showing the crime against a woman who has said specifically that she would not like that shown on television, would like that taken down.
So again, the governor critical of people who play by the rules pack, which has been inundating the governor with all kinds of criticism from TV ads to what seem to be newspaper-type publications, some pretty interesting controversies arising out of all of that. But regardless, people who play by the rules pack continue to hit against the governor and Democrats about the Safety Act. So the governor was asked about that political ad on Friday, but then almost immediately after that, people who play by the rules pack, they highlighted organic promotion of criticism of the Safety Act from a recent Joe Rogan Experience podcast with an estimated 11 million people. Now, they said on September 21st, so this was last week, on the Joe Rogan Experience, audience size 11 million plus, more than CBS's 60 Minutes, which is interesting that they note. He and Illinois native Will Harris, they discussed crime in L.A., then nationally, and Harris brought up his home state. So we'll go ahead and hear that clip that people who play by the rules pack posted on their social media. It is edited because Joe Rogan, of course, it's a podcast, so he's free to drop all kinds of obscenities. But people who play by the rules pack, they did a good job of editing this. So let's go ahead and hear the segment. It's about a minute and a half of Joe Rogan on his podcast talking with Will Harris about the Safety Act.
Exaggerating. Like, no, you need to go there. You need to go there and realize how bad it is.
Well, didn't Illinois just pass some new law?
Yeah.
What the is that?
The crazy safety law. It's they're essentially eliminating cash bail for almost everything dangerous. Kidnapping, they're eliminating cash bail for second-degree murder. They're eliminating cash bail for murder through narcotics. So you could like overdose someone and drug them to death and no cash bail. Intimidating an official, like a federal official, or here it is. Here's the things. The law includes secondary murder, arson, so you could light a guy's house on fire, get right out of jail, drug-induced homicide, robbery, kidnapping, aggravated battery, burglary, intimidation, aggravated driving under the influence, fleeing and eluding drug offenses, and threatening a public official. No bail.
What? I'm from Illinois.
It's crazy. I mean, everyone's freaking out. I'm very concerned about the increase in violent crime. Again, I do want to stress there's still time to fix it. And the state's attorneys are working very hard. We have been for the last year and a half to fix this law. It's very fixable. We can still eliminate cash bail, but make sure the right people are in custody and everybody who's not in danger gets out, said State's Attorney Robert Berlin. Yeah, they're because...
So again, that's Joe Rogan on his podcast talking about the Safety Act and being highlighted by people who play by the rules pack. Again, that says that Joe Rogan has an audience size of 11 million people, and that's nearly the size of Illinois. Your thoughts on this? Is this going to be impactful? We've already talked with some at the State House who think that the Safety Act is indeed going to undergo some changes whenever lawmakers come back after the election, but I want to hear from you. 217-629-7970. That's the phone number. Again, 217-629-7970. It's interesting because we've been talking about the Safety Act and talking with law enforcement groups about it, talking with the critics of the Safety Act for a year and a half, if not more. But it just in the past few weeks, it's elevated quite a bit. The conversation's elevated quite a bit. Whatever the reason is for that, I don't think matters. But what's fascinating is to see all of the, quote, fact checks that are being done and all of the op-eds that are coming out saying, oh, people are manipulating the information about the safety. No, people are concerned about the Safety Act and the trajectory of what it means for the possibility of people alleged of certain crimes being let out of jail without posting bail. Your thoughts? Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Good morning, Greggy. Finally, this conversation is taking place. I was afraid it was going to take place after the midterm elections. What's going to happen? I'll tell you what's going to happen here. Some white guy is going to kill a black guy or a bunch of black guys, and he's going to be released on bail. Okay? Then he will disappear. And the Black Caucus, which passed the Safety Act, will suddenly call for the repeal of the Safety Act. These things are so formulaic, it's almost, funny.
Well, and that's a hypothetical you raise and bringing a certain racial tinge to this. But I think that regardless of, the circumstance, the fact that somebody who, commits a crime, a violent crime possibly, or even a crime against certain property, the way the Safety Act's set up, a lot of people are saying it's the victims who are second thought in this, when it's the victims who should be top of mind in any kind of criminal justice proceedings. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
This is why I say time and time again, these people themselves need to be locked up. Lightfoot, the governor, all of them. This is what's bad about, and this is going to get really, really bad next year. But they don't care. It's just unbelievable.
Well, I think that after the election, we'll see them come back, depending on how bad Democrats lose, depending on what voters ultimately say in, polling. You're going to see lawmakers come back after the week after the election. All right, November 8th, the election. The following week, lawmakers are back in Springfield. So they could very well come back and modify things before January 1st to kind of address some of these concerns. So we'll see what happens with that. 217-629-7970. Good morning.
Hey, good morning, Greg.
Hey.
Also, part of the Safety Act, aren't there certain things that they just can't arrest you for, that they can only ticket you? Like trespassing, for example.
Yeah, and I think the language in that is, and I don't have it pulled up in front of me right away because it's a 700-page bill. All right, like almost an 800-page bill. But I think there was something in there about law enforcement may arrest somebody for trespassing. Don't quote me on that. I'm not real sure, but I think it has something to do with like the shall and may type of thing in there.
Right. I kept on Control F and looking up keywords on the document.
Yep.
And I couldn't find the clear language. It almost looked like if there were certain misdemeanor crimes, they were unarrestable offenses and just ticketable. But long story short, the only thing I want to say is when you have a supermajority in the state, example, Illinois, the executive branch is ran by the Democrats. Essentially, the most electors vote liberal-leaning judge, and they have a supermajority of the legislative. They can enact any policy right now without the minority's approval.
That's exactly what happened here. It passed narrowly. I think it only got like 62 votes in the Illinois House, maybe 61 votes. It only needs 60 to pass. So, yeah, it passed narrowly. Appreciate the calls. Got to take a break here in a moment, but we'll get full phone lines here. Good morning. You are on WMAY. Oh, you would have been. All right, so that wraps us up. And unless anybody else wants to chime in here in the last 30 seconds or so, you got some time. 217-629-7970. It's amazing what you could say in just a 20-second clip there. But the governor, he has said that there is a conversation to be had about crime, but he's not a fan of how some people are talking about this issue of crime and punishment. Again, here's the governor on Friday talking about how, yes, indeed, there's a place to talk about crime.
I think we should have a debate and discussion about crime, but that is ridiculously over the top.
So your thoughts. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
To finish up, so if they got the supermajority when this backfires, they can't blame the Republicans or counterparts at all. They have to take full responsibility for this.
No,
for all
you're right.
The negative backlash.
Yeah, and just as they've had to take responsibility for all the negative economic circumstance that Illinois is in, just as Democrats have to take responsibility for not checking the governor's COVID-19 mandates that are still going on 2.5+ years into this. The Democrats at the State House have not provided any check or accountability to the governor. Good morning. You're on WMAY.
Hi, Greg. Make this really quick. A couple more details about this act. First of all, of course, they didn't make it go into effect until after the election, even though they passed it 2 years ago. And also, regarding body-worn cameras, they will be required to be worn by every single police department, no matter their size, from now on.
Yeah.
And also they'll be required to be worn and turned on and activated for their entire shift. So police officers will never have any privacy.
Well, and there's also concerns of an element in there about the ability for people to file anonymous complaints against law enforcement, and that's something else that has people a little concerned. It also opens up conversations about trying to strip police of qualified immunity. That's not in the bill as stripping them from qualified immunity, but it opens up a panel of sorts that's going to look into the issue, and that's something else that's got people on edge. Appreciate the calls on this. Got to take a break. It is Springfield's Morning News on 92.7 WMAY, Springfield's News.